Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hockey Night in Canada Online. I'm your host, Rob Pizzo. We've got plenty to go through over the next 10 or 15 minutes, and we're going to welcome our guests via Skype in just 1 second. But before we do that, I want to let you know how you can get in contact with us. We want to let you help us program this show. What do you want to talk about? Jump on Twitter, @HockeyNight, @Rob Pizzo, #Hockey Night, or you can jump on our Facebook page and leave a question at Facebook/Hockey Night in Canada. You'll notice one account isn't on the Skype list there, and that is because this guy just is not a fan of Twitter. He just doesn't like it. But let's welcome him anyway. Glenn Healy from Hockey Night in Canada, who owns stock in Twitter, right, Heels?
Oh, I'm just tweeting your question.
Oh, you just love it. But that's where all of our questions come in, Heels. We got plenty to go through, so let's get right to it. And we're going to start from one of our regular listeners and viewers who loves to tweet in questions. Mo Jabber wants to know, do you think this is the year the San Jose Sharks make a deep run in the playoffs? Is it me here, Heels, or every year are we talking about how great this team is in the regular season and then maybe a disappointment in the playoffs?
Well, I think here's the difference this year in years past. And in years past, it was always Marlowe's team and it was always Big Joe's team. And that has changed. This is Joe Pavelski's team, and they passed it on. And so they are a much deeper group than they were in years past. And let's give them some love in years past. I mean, it was a 5-minute major a few years ago that led to Vancouver beating them when it seemed like they had a stranglehold in a Vancouver series. But by clinching, you know that the 2-3 spot are going to play off against one another. There's going to be a really good team in the West that finds itself outside looking in. Yeah. With realignment, with the way the new playoff format works, with the way this team now performs, they stand a really good chance of going deep. And in the wild, wild West, if somebody can predict with unfailable odds what's going to happen, send me them, because I don't have a clue. It is so tough in the West to predict who's going to win.
And you're right. It seems as though regardless of what happens, we're going to see 2 or 3 teams that really are Stanley Cup contenders out of the playoffs in the first round. All right, let's go to some of last night's action. We had Columbus taking on Detroit. Big game as far as the playoffs go. And M. Walker wants to know, how is Chris Rooney an NHL referee? And he's referring to this play, Heels, a controversial goal that ended up being the game-winning goal by Cam Atkinson. Net comes off the moorings. It's ruled as a goal. Your thoughts on what happened last night in this game?
Well, it's ruled as a goal, not because someone made Chris Rooney an NHL referee. It's because he's read the rule book, and the rule book states that if a puck can go into a net, even though the net is dislodged, if you have caused that net to go off, then the other team can score, and it can be called a legal goal. Now, I have done this myself on a number of occasions, where it is a wide open net, I know the puck is going in, and as a goalie, I just push my net off and then say, that was off, shouldn't be a goal, even though it's a tap-in putt. So he's just following the rule book, and if you don't like the rule, write into the league and get the rule changed. But by letter of the law, he has followed what the rule book says, and it's Detroit that has caused the net to come off by pushing the Columbus player into the net, so it is a legal goal.
Hold on, Heels. Are you telling me and all of our viewers that you bent the rule book when you played in the National Hockey League?
Oh, yes. If you're not cheating, you are not trying. No question in my mind. There are, before video review, oh my gosh, there was a number of times. My goals against would be higher than it already is, but we regress. Let's move on.
Let's move on. This is my face being really surprised to find out you did that. Let's move on to an injury, and this is coming in from Caps Team Mojo. Is Nicklas Backstrom okay? This obviously from the Caps and Kings game yesterday. Drew Doughty with a hit on Nicklas Backstrom, and the stanchion strikes again. He had to leave the game, did not return, Heels.
Well, it is troublesome because this is a player that has had some concussion issues. Certainly the team is not going to let us know with regards to anything with this player and whether this player is okay to come back, particularly when you look at where Washington is in the standings, but it doesn't look good. And Backstrom, he's a tough guy. And this could be a host of about 5 different injuries, and I'm not predicting which one it is, but the fact that he didn't come back in that big a game is troublesome. And Backstrom's an important guy to that hockey club. So I guess what was the press release for the Washington Capitals? An upper and lower body injury? Okay. figure that one out. But the fact he didn't come back in such a big game with so few games left, and the fact that they're right in the thick of a playoff push with this player's history of injuries, that's problematic.
We're basically going to get press releases from teams that just say body injury at this point because they're not going to let us know anything. Adam Oates did claim that he wasn't going through concussion protocol, so hopefully he's telling the truth, and that's correct because you never want to see a guy go down with a concussion. But you're right, big piece of that team right there, and they're one of 4
here's
teams.
The thing: if they use the C word, he's out a minimum of a week.
Yeah.
No matter what, even if they're not sure if he's got a concussion. It's a week that you're out. So nobody is going to use that word in any sentence at any time moving forward from now till Lord Stanley's handed out.
Washington, one of 4 teams tied with 80 points right now in the Eastern Conference. Back to Twitter we go. Jared Bull was cleared, so why is he not back in the lineup yet? This is from Sarah's toned smile.
Sarah must like Jared Bull. There's no question because, you look at the way Columbus is playing and you say, why is he not in the lineup? And I would say, why is he in the lineup? Because this is a club that is playing really well. It's winning games. They've got themselves in a playoff position. And, as a coach, you are so reluctant to change your lineup when the team is doing well. And Jared Bull's a guy, he knows how to handle himself. I love him as a player. He could play on my team any day. He's a real tough guy. But at this time of year, with a club gelling and with the lack of fisticuffs, there really is no need to fight at this point. I mean, even if you want to fight, why risk a hand injury? Why risk any type of an injury in a needless interaction that is not whistle to whistle? That's where the game is won and lost. And Jared Bull is a real useful player. With the time he's missed, with the team playing as well, with what he does for a role, I really wonder if now's the time to put him in. And I think the coach wonders the same thing, and that's why he's out.
Heels, in a shocking turn of events when we threw out on Twitter that you were going to come on, we got inundated with Leaf questions, and we'll kind of try to hit this team up in every angle because, man, 6 losses in a row. Let's read a few of them. What are the Leafs' chances of making the playoffs? That's one of the questions coming in regarding the Leafs. Can the Maple Leafs make up lost ground as they've slipped out of a playoff position now after their recent struggles? They're at 24.6% Heels to make the playoffs. Things are not looking good in Toronto right now.
Well, they are the makers of their own demise. It was just a week and a half ago. They had a game against the Grand Rapids Red Wings, and there were 11 players from Grand Rapids in the lineup, and they blew it. It was a Daniel Alfredson goal. Alfredson, is he a dagger to the Maple Leafs?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he is. And so, they have caused their own demise. They aren't getting secondary scoring. They're a one-trick pony with Phil Kessel, James Van Riemsdyk, and Bozak. Their power play's not working effectively. They're giving up far too many scoring chances. The game against St. Louis last night, the first period, the game should have been over. So when you're not scoring and you're giving up a ton, you really don't have a chance to win in this league. And their confidence can't be at an all-time low. The coach isn't getting along with the players. The players aren't getting along with the coach. And the only way that they get this together is to put off a 6-2 finish. And that's going to be real tough to do.
And they've got a really tough schedule. You heard me mention the 24% to make the playoffs. That's from the site Sports Club Stats. Just to let you know, after they beat LA before going on this losing streak, they were over 89% to make the playoffs. Let's stick with the Leafs because obviously the big topic of conversation over the last week has been between the pipes. Why is everyone chirping James Reimer when it may be the 20 guys in front of him the coach can't seem to handle? That's from SGAM82.
Wow, a goaltending controversy in Toronto?
No, surely you jest.
You know what? This one, I think you take the mirror right out, and James Reimer, you look in the mirror. I mean, it has not been a good 2 weeks for you. Your stats have not been good this season, and you were handed the keys to the car to take this team to the promised land, and you have been, pulled on numerous games. You've given up far too many goals. You've given up far too many leads early on in hockey games where your team starts to question whether you can make a save. And some of the goals you've given up, quite frankly, stink. And when you have that kind of goaltending in this league, you are not going to win hockey games. And that, to me, is the major reason they're on a 6-game slide. Bernier came in last night, and he played a whale of a first period. It should have been 4-1 at the end of the first period. So the Leafs' hopes They don't last or land on James Reimer's lap. In fact, he may have played his last game for the Maple Leafs. It's all Jonathan Bernier and whether he can play at the level he's played at all year to be the Leafs' second best player next to Phil Kessel.
All that being said, though, can we agree that maybe Bernier going down has shed a light on problems that have been there since October?
No question. We're not hiding from the fact that this club has given up more shots than anybody, had stretches where they gave up 30-plus shots for 15 straight games. But that is the makeup of their team. Unless you want to let's have the trade deadline moved and tomorrow we can get 10 players out and 10 players in. That's the way this team plays. And they are not a shutdown team. They have played most of the year minus a guy like David Boland, who's their shutdown center iceman. They played part of this year minus Tyler Bozak. And when you are weak up the middle and you take your two best centers out of the middle for a good chunk of the year, well, you're just not good enough. And Carlisle is a shutdown guy who likes to match lines, and he just, quite frankly, doesn't have the lineup to coach the way he wants to coach. And so the blame goes around to everybody. Their captain last night wasn't good enough either. So, we can point the finger at a number of different people, but, I guess we say the Leaf team is just okay.
Good way to end it, Heels. As always, thanks so much for doing this. I'll talk to you in a couple hours on Hockey Night in Canada Radio.
Great, Pease. Good stuff today.
Glenn Healy from Hockey Night in Canada, and it's like we like to call him on the show, the speaker of the truth. Again, we want to let you know how you can contact us. Send us your questions, comments, anything you want to talk about at Hockey Night, at Rob Pizzo, with the hashtag Hockey Night, or you can jump on our Facebook page /Hockey Night in Canada. For Glenn Healy, I'm Rob Pizzo. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Hockey Night in Canada Online.